This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm joined by John Ryder over Zoom for the first time in 2021. John, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to catch up with you for the first time this year, as I say. How's things going? How's camp life?
Yeah, I mean, not much to report yet. I mean, just slowly got back into it after the new year. I had not a busy like last year. Obviously, it was not busy for no one, but I was in the gym a lot and I had a 10-round fight in Florida on the 19th of December. And very flat performance, but performance I need to get out of my system and just look to build on and get a big 2021 under my belt. So I had a good rest under that, needed it, spent some quality time with the family. And yeah, I mean, just been getting back into it nicely now, back in the gym with Tony and the boys and feeling good. I mean, I'm raring to go.
I mean, for you yourself last year, John, I'm sure you're probably sick of talking about the Smith fight from before that, but because of what happened in 2020 with the pandemic hitting and shows being kind of sparse up until they returned, do you feel kind of an extra sense of frustration that you wasn't able to continue that momentum from the performance you produced against Callum? Because there was a lot of talk and a lot of excitement on the back of your performance, even though you didn't get the result, that there was big things ahead for you last year, unfortunately, until the pandemic hit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a shame. Obviously, everyone had the vision of 2020 being their year, and I mean, I was no different. I thought after the Smith fight, it'd be a big year for me coming up, and like it should have been really, but obviously the pandemic hit and really scuppered everyone's plans. But listen, it was nice to get out on the 19th and just dust away. I think it was the 18th, wasn't it, actually? Yeah, on the 18th, and dust off the cobwebs and not put on a shining performance, but get in there, get a job done, and then just move forward. Really, I mean, because there was a big cloud over my career and Callum's career at the time over the result of the fight, and I think it's closed the door on that now. Although people still got their opinions, but for myself personally, it's nice to move on from that and to have got another win, to be looking for another big opportunity.
Let's just reflect on your fight at the back end of last year, John. You said yourself it was a flat performance against Mike Guy, potentially a little harsh on yourself, John, because I spoke to Tony, and anybody who watched the fight will be able to acknowledge Mike just didn't want to engage with you on the night. How frustrating was that a game for yourself, and what was you actually expecting heading into the ring against Mike?
I was expecting, for him to come and bring it a bit more. I'm lucky enough that I get to fight on a lot of these big shows for Matchroom, and I've been lucky enough to fight on big bills. I mean, he's coming to a shot at, and he should be wanting to make a statement. Do you know what I mean? He should be wanting to come in there and try and blast me out, but he's not. He's on his bike. He's running from the first bell to the last, and I mean, he's not engaging at all. So I mean, you're not going to get welcomed back too quick, are you, if you carry on fighting like that? So. But listen, he done what he has to do. He wanted to win, and that was probably his best chance to winning. I mean, I had to chase him down and look untidy and look sloppy, but we got in there, got the job done. I mean, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't pleasing on the eye, but like I say, it was a job that needed doing, and I'm pleased to come away with a victory.
I mean, with the fight, obviously the victory being the main thing, but given the frustrations that you would have felt during the fight, because he wasn't really engaging, because he didn't really go how you expected it to, what kind of lessons was you able to take from it?
Just that you need to be able to change things up in the ring a bit. You need to not let the occasion get the better of you. I was looking forward to it. It was a big Golovkin undercard. Obviously, I look up to Golovkin, so it was nice to be his undercard. But obviously, the fight with no crowd as well, it's a big change. I mean, you could hear Chris Algieri commentating up in the stand, and that was quite off-putting. And I could hear certain instructions, and I could hear Eddie Earn shouting from the stand. It was you could pick out certain voices, but it was just a very odd feeling. And the ring as well, it was a really noisy ring. There was must have been like a loose board. So every time he stepped on a bit, it was really like a loud bang whenever he stepped on it. So it was like even things like that would like just put you out of your stride. And even like that thing is like down to things like the ring walk on your own. I mean, I'm big. I like to do a ring walk with the team. I like to have Tony by my side, but even that, the short ring walk to the ring on your own is all new to me.
Has he all just stood you in good stead though for when you are able to get next back out, if it's in a situation where you don't have fans in attendance once again?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a box tick now as well that I've boxed in front of no crowd, and I mean, yeah. I just think, listen, last year was a bad year for everyone. Like I said, I've been in the gym way too long, dates chopping and changing around, and I mean, in the real world, I didn't really need to fight. It wasn't essential that I boxed, but it was good to get the win, and it was yeah, like I say, a box tick. But ideally, with them kind of camps that drag on and go on, you're probably better off at just cutting it and thinking we'll save it and we'll go again when something's more certain. But listen, it was nice to get out to Florida. It was nice to step foot on an airplane when most people was locked down in their homes, and I was able to get across the Atlantic. So I won't knock it too much.
Obviously, you've mentioned it was on the Triple G Sarah Meta undercard. Just your thoughts on Golovkin's performance, John?
Sensational, really. I mean, we saw his last fight, and I think we all thought that Golovkin might be on the slide of it, but then he's come back and he's shown what a force he is. I mean, obviously Zarameta's a good European level fighter. Hadn't really proven it at a world level, but I mean, Golovkin went in and showed him what world level is, and looked brilliant in doing it. And I was lucky enough to meet him afterwards, and what a gentleman he was.
John, I saw a photo of the pair of you, and I believe it was on your Instagram where you said it was nice to be able to just have a brief chat with him after your fights. Did you have any words about a potential fight? I know you've been after a big fight for a while. Did you kind of have a little joke in between your conversation?
No, Joe, I was actually surprised. I mean, I was surprised how big he was. He looked a lot shorter on TV. Not that I'm massive myself, but he was a little bit taller than me, which took me by surprise. And I gave him like a cuddle, and just to feel the back on him, he feels like he's made out of stone. Do you know what I mean? He's absolutely solid. But what a nice bloke. Do you know what I mean? I've often said his name, and yeah, I'd fight him. And listen, we're fighters. We'll fight anyone. But what a nice man. He invited me to go and train with him in Big Bear. So hopefully the opportunity comes up and I get to go out there.
That'd be a brilliant experience if that could happen, John. Just obviously the day after you fought Manu, briefly touched on earlier, Callum Smith, he lost to Saul Canelo Alvarez. I'm sure you'd have watched the fight, John. Just your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, he went in there like I say, he's been out the ring as long as me, so it's hard. Do you know what I mean, to go into these big fights and expect to be firing all cylinders. And listen, I knew a year ago that Callum Smith was done at super middleweight, and a year down the line, it must have been near on impossible for him to make the weight. So I think with that in mind, he done well to get through the 12 rounds. He done well to survive. But I mean, up at 175, I think you'll see the return of him and see what he once was at super middleweight. But it was just a Canelo masterclass, really. Canelo does what Canelo does, doesn't he? He's great. He's very pleasing on the eye, and he just knows how to get through a fight, doesn't he, without pretty much getting a glove laid on him.
There's a lot of kind of debate at the minute as to who people think could defeat Canelo. Some people seem to suggest if he ever steps back up to 175, Beterbiev could be the man. But at 168, we know that once he faces Yildirim, if he comes past that test, as many in as everybody would expect him to, Billy Joe Saunders seems to be lined up for him in May. Just your thoughts, how does Billy Joe fare against Canelo?
Listen, Billy Joe's got a good chance. I mean, he's one of them fighters. I mean, him and Tyson Fury, they just, I don't know what it is. They must have a bet between them, like the first to, like, no, they don't want to be the first to be defeated. Do you know what I mean? You see Tyson rise from the dead against Deontay Wilder and claw a draw. Do you know what I mean? And many thought he should have won it, and rightly so. But even just getting up off the floor, but they just find a way to win. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if it's just them winning each other on or what, but they always find a way so far. And listen, Billy Joe's been in a few tight scraps, and he's just managed to do enough to get through and pip him to the post. So I'm sure he'll go in there full of confidence. Like, fair play to him. He's a world champion going there, probably in Vegas to fight Canelo in pretty much his hometown. I know he's obviously Mexican, but he's been based out of Vegas for years, and it's a real opportunity for both.
Now, John, obviously, we're also waiting for news on yourself and David Morrell, the WBA regular champion. Just kind of an update on that. I've spoken to Tony about it amongst a couple of others. What's your knowledge as to where talks currently stand with that fight?
As far as I know, Eddie and PBC are talking. I think they got 30 days to come up with a deal, and then otherwise I think it goes to purse bids. But yeah, I think we're into that 30 days now. I don't know when that is ended, but just looking forward to getting some news and really be able to put the foot on the gas and get working towards the fight date.
What do you make of David, and how much have you kind of watched him?
It's limited, really. I mean, you can see a few of his amateur fights, but do you really want to watch that to see what he's like in the pro ring? I've watched majority of his pro fights, and he's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong; he's been a good amateur, but the amateur game and the pro game are completely different. So I think I've got the knowledge and the years of experience in the pro ring to go in there and defeat him.
Another name that crept up last year, not really sure whether you're considering it now or not, or you would consider it, is Rocky Fielding. Spoke to Rocky, it's probably the beginning of this year, and he mentioned you made an offer to him, but he was just on too short notice for him to kind of take that fight with regards to his own preparations. Is there any kind of thoughts in your own mind that you'd still be open to facing Rocky, or are you solely focusing on the Morrell fight?
Yeah, solely focusing on the Morrell fight and just picking up that world title, something that I feel that is evading me for long enough now. Yeah, I mean, I want to revenge all my losses, and yeah, why not?
At 168, just one more fight I want to touch on was one between Caleb Plant and Caleb Truax a couple of weeks ago. Caleb Plant, some people were impressed, others not so, because he never kind of put his foot on the gas to look for that stoppage win. Just your thoughts on his victory?
So I think, like I say, like with Canelo, he's very pleasing on the eye, and Caleb Plant is as well. But I think he's just missing that real standout elite fight up at 168. Do you know what I mean? I know obviously Caleb True was a former title holder at the weight. But other than that, I mean, he's beat Uzcats guy, who was quite a feared man at the time. Obviously, at the wins over DaRRELL. A draw and a win, wasn't it? So I mean, everyone was feared of him, but I didn't really see the method behind it. I thought he was quite one-dimensional, and then he fought the German, didn't he? After that, so I mean, he's not, as a world champion, he's not really had the standout fight yet at 168 to be warranting the claims of fighting Canelo and being the best in the division when he's not really fought a reigning champion.
Now, John, just before I let you go, I just want to touch on some of your campmates who have kind of got fights announced or fights coming up. Firstly, I believe it was yesterday, the purse bids for Felix Cash versus Denzel Bentley were won by Frank Warren. Just your thoughts now on that fight, now that we know, as I say, purse bids were won by Frank?
Yeah, I mean, a good fight. I mean, a real fight for the fans. You know what I mean? It's good to see the British and the Commonwealth title go up against each other. Obviously, there's that bit of media ones with Frank, ones with Eddie. So obviously, there's a bit of one-upmanship that Frank's won the bid. So they'll feel the positive of having it on a home show. But no, it's a treat for the fans, really.
What do you make of the fight from kind of a technical standpoint? And what would you expect to see from the pair of them?
Well, I know both really well. Do you know what I mean? And Felix is he's a clever boxer, he's a smart boxer, but he comes forward. He loves to be on attack. Whereas Denzel really can mix it up. He can come forward. He can box on the back foot. He's much improved from the first Mark Heffron fight. He's really gone away, worked on his mistakes, and I mean, as you see in the second fight, I know it was a freak injury, but he come out a different fight at that fight.
And then obviously another man in your camp who's got a fight coming up, Ted Cheeseman, fighting for the British title once again against Jo Jo Metcalf. How's Ted looking?
Listen, Ted's a man possessed at the moment. He's like I've never seen before. He's so hungry and so determined to get his British title back. Listen, if he doesn't win that, I'd be surprised.
And final man, just want to ask you about is Conor Ben again, stepping up with a well-travelled and a well-experienced man in Sammy Vargas. What would you expect to see Conor kind of bring into this fight? Because he impressed a lot of people with his Sebastian Formella performance.
Yeah, no, Conor looked fantastic against Formella, and I mean, you judge Formella's how he fought against Porter and how he fought against Conor, and it was two different fights completely. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like if he'd fought like he did against Porter, then Conor would have got him out there. But it just shows you where Conor's at and what level he's at, and what level he's operating, and the fights that he wants. Now he's fighting Sammy Vargas. Listen, he's going up and up as quick as possible. So it's a real interesting fight. We obviously see Sammy Vargas drop Khan a couple of years back, but listen, I think Conor's too young, too fresh, and too explosive, and I think you'll see a really explosive knockout on the night.
Right, John, I've taken enough of your time this evening. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of it. But I'm going to leave final words to yourself. For everybody who will tune in to watch this interview, what would you like to say to them?
Thank you for supporting. Hope we will have a better 2021 than we did last year. Stay happy, stay healthy, and yeah, have a good one.
John, it's a pleasure to catch up with you as always. Stay safe, and I'll hopefully see you in person soon to be able to do an interview. Thank you, Speed.
Fingers crossed, mate.